I am showing 12 o'clock. We'll give folks just another minute and then we'll get started. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm showing a little bit after 12 o'clock. So good afternoon, child care and early childhood colleagues in Arkansas. I know people will continue to join. We have in the Zoom features for security purpose, there is a waiting room now. Becky is trying to get folks in quickly. So apologize for that, but it's a new security feature and apparently we have put it into use in our agency for security reasons. So I apologize if it's a little bit difficult to get in. Going to start with a few updates, but I also have staff that have updates. So I will start and then hand it over to licensing and then any other updates from the team members. This morning we had 1,898 programs that were operating with the ability to serve 162,339 children. We've had 960 children and 1,400 and 34 staff since March of last year that have been confirmed positive for COVID related to a childcare early childhood setting. So for those of you who've been on the calls throughout the time, you'll see the numbers are pretty big right now. Hopefully we are going to start seeing that level and taper off as we've gotten through the holiday, a couple of weeks after the holiday. So while I'm starting to see the numbers be a little bit lower. So thank you for your continued work there. I'm going to hand it over. If Rhonda is on from Child Nutrition, Rhonda Betzner. If not, I will let Ashlyn. Oh, there's Rhonda. Thanks, Rhonda. If you will unmute yourself, and then Rhonda's going to share an update on ServSafe, which is a requirement for child nutrition for those of you who are feeding for children.
Tanya, I believe you're muted, or Ashlyn's muted.
Hey guys, we were looking to see maybe if Rhonda was going to share about ServSafe, but I can do that actually. So this is just a reminder that ServSafe, which our health and nutrition folks talked to us about some time ago, and the deadline was actually last October, if you'll remember, is now been extended to June the 30th. So while that seems a little a ways off, several months off, it comes up very, very fast. So we wanted just to make sure that we put it back on the forefront of your mind that your ServSafe certifications must be completed by June 30th in order to be compliant. And we will try to get you a contact name in the chat box. So if there's somebody from H&P and you want to put contact information in the chat box, that would be great in case any of the providers have questions about it. Thanks, guys.
Sorry, guys, trying to find that unmute button so that I could start talking, but I'm going to hand it to Kelly Hilburn to talk about some new updates from the health department regarding contact tracing.
Good. Well, I started to say good morning. Good afternoon, everyone, just barely. So the latest information we have for contact tracing, and so this will impact a lot of you who report positive cases beginning January 18th. So it's been just a few days. The case investigators are only going to investigate cases that are 6 days or less from the onset of symptoms, collection date, or result date, in that order. And then they will only make one phone call attempt, and they'll leave a message or a voicemail. They are only going to notify the probable close contacts that have had exposure within 6 days or less. So all of that's a little bit confusing, but just know the contact tracers are not contacting everyone like they used to. The criteria has been changed just a little bit. So the 6 days or less is going to be the main thing for that criteria.
Thanks, Kelly. I want to talk just a second. I see some folks have just a question or maybe just needing some assistance with professional development registry regarding their ServSafe. Rhonda, if you and or somebody from the registry can just double check for that program and make sure that we are getting their training registered for those who are taking it. It's a good question, and we want to make sure that you are able to access those as part of your training. I want to talk a little bit about vaccine for a moment. We've had Dr. Tumlison on in December, and then Sandra spoke with us at our last call and answered a lot of questions. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a nurse. I'm not in the health profession. What I am going to talk to you about is I've heard from several of you across the state that are having difficulty maybe in an area because you're in a densely populated area and there are lots of school personnel and people in the 75 and older category that are in front of us for the shot, and or maybe there's some confusion about childcare and early childhood being part of this wave. So let me first of all tell you The Department of Health is the lead, and on their website, they have the vaccine plan. So if you go to the Department of Health's website, or you can Google vaccine plan for Arkansas and it'll get you there. You will have information there. And clearly, childcare and early childhood education is part of the phase that is scheduled to go now. I'm not sure who's sharing their screen, but I am seeing some things. So if you started screen sharing, please, you may have information. It's a personal drive and it may be things that you really don't want shared with all of us. Thank you. So if you're in that category, you are eligible to get the vaccine if you choose to. I do want to remind everybody, we are not mandating that in Arkansas. That is a choice that you get to make to protect you and your family. We are encouraging it. I know that Sandra and Dr. Tomlinson both talked about that, how important it is, but we understand that people have the opportunity to make that decision. I wanted to let you know that we are working with the Department of Health and the National Guard to coordinate with hopefully our child care aware sites across the state with regard to a vaccine clinic for child care and early childhood education. So for those of you who have had some difficulty, we are meeting with folks from National Guard and with child care aware. We'll be scheduling that in the next few days. And I know that several of our child care awares were interested in this. The National Guard actually approached us, and I'm really pleased and excited that they're willing to take it on. And so I think it's Captain Jackson. Is that right, Kelly? Give me a nod. Yes, I see Ashley and Kelly nodding. So Captain Jackson is going to be working with our team and with our child care aware. Here's what becomes very important, folks, on the early childhood side. The first thing that we're going to need to do is send out a very short 2 or 3 question survey. Name, location, so we'll need city, license number, something to know where you are. And I think the staff have that. And whether or not you want to get the vaccine. We cannot tell the National Guard that 1,500 people want to take it and really only 900 show up. That will not be good. And here's why. Okay, somebody's screen sharing again. Make sure you, it's Melissa Benefield. I'm going to start calling you out, gang, because that you might get something out there for everybody to see that you really don't want anybody to see. So if you're not familiar with that screen share, stay away from that little green share screen. At any rate, on the vaccine, we really need to get a hard, firm number. So because those vaccines have, as many of you have probably heard, they have to be refrigerated. They have to be kept at certain temperatures. Once they start opening up the vial or group that a vaccine is in, they can't use it after, they have to be used within a certain period of time. So there's certainly things that become very critical on this. I've had at least 1 or 2 of you reach out and say, hey, we'd be happy to help set up a clinic. And I appreciate that. That may be something that our child care aware programs will want to know from you if you have a large enough site. I think what becomes very important for this vaccine, unlike the flu and others where we can do clinics just about anywhere, is that temperature controlled refrigerated process for the vaccine. So, you know, if you're still interested in being a site, or if you have a church setting and you have space and your church is willing to do it, please let your child care aware folks know that when you're responding, that you equally have that. I don't think that's going to be a question on it, but you could write it in that you have space and potentially refrigeration for that. They'll have to vet it. That's something that the folks that are controlling the vaccine in terms of the temperature, because they'll have to probably find out, is that temperature the right temperature for this particular vaccine? And how big is the refrigerator that you have? Because again, if it's a pretty large clinic, they would have to store quite a bit and keep it refrigerated as they're working through the vaccine itself. So I just throw that out there to say thanks for those who are interested in doing that. And we really appreciate it. But there are a few factors in terms of logistics on this vaccine. They're a little bit different. I am starting to see some folks saying, okay, so the main thing, so do you contact child care aware? I think that we'll be working. Here's the first thing that's going to happen. We're going to have a meeting with Captain Jackson and the National Guard, and we're going to work through the logistics for you all of the survey. We will get it to Child Care Aware and they will send it out. So the main thing for you all right now is you don't have to do anything, but be watching for communication from your Child Care Aware in the state, and they will be sending you this survey. That's the most important thing. Work with your staff and make sure that your staff understand when they're filling it out. If they don't want to do it, that's fine. This is not a one-shot deal. If they don't want to do it right now, I have staff of my own who said, I really don't want to do it right now. I'd like to wait. We all respect that, and we should respect that. So there are people who may want to wait. So the main thing is, if you really want to take it, let us know that you want to take it so that the Child Care Aware folks can coordinate with National Guard to get the right number of vaccines, and that we don't waste a single vaccine, because some of us want to take it like today and we're waiting and we're ready. So we want to make sure that we don't waste a single one. And we have elderly parents who maybe are on a list. So Sandra's on the call if there are any specific questions about vaccine. I do see that Jennifer McGillis said the lists are long here and child care is a little bit left out. So you certainly can call your local pharmacy. We do have staff that are in this group that are doing monitoring, that are required to be in this particular grouping. And so some of them have already gotten their first one, some are scheduled. But if you're in a local community, I'm hearing that there are rural areas that are a little bit easier to get to a vaccine than maybe some of the more populated areas. So for those of you who can access a pharmacy or clinic in your area and you have been able to get an appointment, keep your appointment. Don't worry about trying to go through this clinic. We're just trying to help fill in some gaps in places where there is a potential problem. So I'm seeing Debbie, thank you. Debbie was able to get an appointment in her local community in Siloam at the Walgreens. So if you go to the health department's website, and I know Ashlyn, if you can paste that, I think we did it last time, but paste their link in the chat box so folks can look at that. They are adding clinics and pharmacies daily. So, keep up with that, because there's a possibility that you could get access to a vaccine locally, and we certainly encourage that. But what we're going to attempt to do is coordinate an effort for those who are having difficulty accessing for childcare and early childhood. So I know some folks are connected to schools, and their school may be doing a vaccine clinic, and they may be able to access through there. So we just want to try to coordinate and make this so that you all are able to access. So see waiting list for a few folks. And then there's somebody who's saying their pharmacy is going to come to their site. So looks like there's all kinds of exciting things happening. I've been telling folks really all along, it is really local. So for those of you who have that possibility, just keep working with your local pharmacies. You'll see when that link that Ashlyn just posted has the sites and the contact information by county and by city. And I think that will be helpful. Again, the most important thing is that we try to get pretty good numbers. If for some reason you have someone who fills it out and then they are able to get a shot, you can call the Child Care Aware and let them know. Just want to make sure we do everything we can to coordinate with National Guard to get the best numbers that we can to help you all access that are having the difficulty. So that's the first thing that I wanted to cover. I want to talk just for a second, and this is not going to be the funnest news to deliver today, but we have not received the federal letter of award for the new funding. We were hoping that we would have that by now, and it has not come through yet, which means by state law, I cannot do anything until I have that. I cannot authorize essential worker children. I can't start payments. I cannot literally do anything until we have that letter of award. We are ready. My staff has worked everything up, and so we're ready to go. We will prioritize those families that are already on essential workers or that have had it for the past, several months. We will get those authorized first before we take any new people. That will be the priority. We will be able to add new people, and the staff have a new similar simple application along with one single email for essential workers that we will be putting out, but we're not putting any of that out because we're not taking those applications
We need to get the ones that are already in first, and then we'll start adding. So just be aware. Tiffany, thank you. Yes, we really, as some of you know, we're buying time to try to keep these essential workers going. But I feel the need to be very transparent today that if we get the letter of award by the end of the week, we will start blasting some things out. We'll get it out to Child Care Aware, Jennifer. We'll start sending things out to you all that have email addresses that we know about. So we'll do multiple things to get that notice out if we get that letter of award before Friday. But I feel like it's really important to let those of you know who have essential workers that we can go back and pay. We can authorize. If we don't get the letter of award, we can start the authorizations on Monday and pay you. But if you need to charge families, we understand that. I'm not going to ask you not to. I can't tell you how to run your business. But if financially you need to start charging because we don't have that letter of award, we understand. And so, Barbara, for those of you that are asking, we will pay you. I think the letter of award will come quickly. I just don't know if we're going to get it by the end of the week. I don't know. The feds have not given us, they will not give us a timeline. They've just said soon. That's all we can get. Good questions, guys. This is probably going to be quite a bit of our conversation today. We are going to pay for the remainder of January. And if we don't have the letter of award by the 1st of February, we will backdate the authorizations for essential workers and we will pay for those. But if you all need to do your payment processes the way you need to starting next week, then please, that's the decision that you're going to need to make. I don't know how your budget looks or how you manage your business, but you do need to understand that. We will get notices out as soon as we get it. Yes, Tiffany, I think that answered the question. We will do authorizations back. We actually have the ability to utilize this funding going back to December 26th, but we paid for the first 2 weeks already of January. So we had hoped to get it by now and that we would start processing those essential workers and your payments for cleaning supplies. That's the other thing that we'll be trying to do immediately. So you have been paid for January 1st through the 15th. I already confirmed that payment was done really when we were on our last call. We won't be backdating any to January 1st for any new ones. We won't even start taking new ones until February. So if you've got parents paying right now, make sure they continue to pay. You don't need to go in the hole any further. For the ones that aren't paying, that are already approved, you may want to let them know if we do not get notice, we will start your normal processes for payment next week. Does that make sense? We will be able to go back to February 1st back to January 16th through the end of the month for payment for those families that we made a commitment to. And so we're going to do that, gang. We just don't have the letter of award yet to do it today or tomorrow unless they send it. And that's why we haven't processed it yet. So, and I appreciate, Barbara, thank you for letting me know. I do think it's important to let your families know and do let them know that we will honor these last 2 weeks and we're going to authorize them through the end of June as soon as we get that commitment from the feds. We're just holding on that. I think with some of the other federal things that have been happening, it just has put a little bit of a delay on those notices. So I don't see any other questions. And I'm going to shift. I don't know if any of my staff, if there are any additional updates that we might have from licensing as people take an opportunity to absorb that unfortunate information and maybe have questions. So. Yes, Courtney. So once we do get the letter of award, this is sort of the plan. We will be using a pretty big portion of it for essential workers. So not only will we add those families that currently are being served through June 30th, we will then begin to take new applications for additional families. So if you know people who fall into those categories, instead of holding them like we did last October, we'll be able to take those families that do need this essential childcare and start adding those. We expect in February to be able to start processing those. But we'll have to get the first group, which is the ones that are currently being served, done first. We will also be using a big chunk of the money for paying you all a maintenance payment, much like we did earlier, but we will process those quarterly. So I think we've established that we'll be able to do at least 4 payments. So, through next year at this time, we will do a quarterly payment for you based on your license capacity. And we have a chart worked up, and we're going to, as soon as we get the release, we're going to be posting all of this, but it will be very similar to what we did before, except we're just going to process it quarterly. So we can tell you on the call, the next payment will be processed here, and then the next payment here.
Hey, Tanya, it's
Yeah.
Ashlyn. I'm getting some questions about the ServSafe, and so I just wanted to let you guys know that Rhonda she was having some technical difficulties, and so she is going to try to put contact information for any of the questions that you have about that. She'll try to put a contact information in the chat box for you all to email. I'm just not the best person to answer those questions, and so I would hate to give you misinformation about it.
Is Rhonda able to talk? I don't know if there's a specific question, Ashlyn. If not, I'm going to keep going. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, I can hear you now, Tanya. So let me look and see what the questions are about the ServSafe. Well, let me just tell you that you need 1 supervisory staff member to be a certified food manager. And everyone's calling it ServSafe. Now, ServSafe is just one type of a certified food manager. It doesn't have to be ServSafe. There's another one, I think Prometrics is real popular, but it's actually a certified food protection manager. Certification is what you need. And that deadline has been extended to June 30th, 2021. Now, to get that certification, I would recommend you go to the Arkansas Hospitality Association. And you can go to their website and have all the information there. I will also put that in the chat box. But that's who I would recommend you go to, Arkansas Hospitality Association, or your local cooperative extension office too offers the training. But please don't wait till the last week that it's due, because I've heard it can be a challenging test. You actually have to take the exam and pass it to get the certification. And then if you take it one time and don't pass it and have to take it again, you want to be sure you give yourself plenty of time before the deadline. So please don't wait till the end of June before you start to take it. And again, that's just 1 supervisory staff member. Every single teacher in every classroom doesn't have to have it. Just 1 supervisory person. And then that certification would be good for 5 years. One other important thing that you need to remember is if that person that has the certification leaves your employment, then the certification goes with them. And then you would have 90 days to get somebody else certified. But just remember that the certification goes with the person. It doesn't stay with the center. So I'll put that information in the chat box. And again, you have until the end of June.
So I see a question from Jenny Barber, Rhonda. It's related to school districts. Just want to make sure you see that one.
I do see that. ServSafe required. School staff is trained. That's a good question. Let me find out. I don't want to give the wrong answer, but I'll see what I can find out and put it in the chat box.
Thanks, Rhonda. Okay. So I want to go back and clarify just on the child care development side, because it can get confusing with the funding. I am talking about funding for essential workers only and supplemental payments, the one-time funding. For those of you who have regular CCDF children that you're serving, regular low-income children, foster care that we're paying you for, you will continue to bill. That is all in place, and we have funding there. It's the new funding that Congress passed right at the end of December that I'm referring to, and it's what we've been paying for essential workers, the supplemental payments for essential workers. We will still continue to process out regular low income, supplemental payments for low income. But I just wanted to make sure, Amy, you had asked if that payment for the second half of January. So if you're asking for essential workers, then that is correct. But if you do have regular CCDF, bill just like you normally would. You guys, continue to bill. And by the way, really monitoring that. And I know you guys have a lot going on, but try to bill at least monthly, but weekly if possible, because we do see some lag, and that's concerning when I know that financially you guys are struggling, or I hear that. But when I see millions of dollars that haven't been billed, it's a little bit concerning. So please check that. If you have a question or if you're having problems with a voucher and need assistance with that, let us know if that's what's causing it. But it was too big and it was all over the state. So it may have been the holiday. That could have been. I looked at it in December. It could have been the holiday. But just know, if you, if you're resource poor, and I know many of us work that way in our field, get your billing in and get paid for those regular CCDF kiddos. But we are processing those payments and supplemental payments for those children. It is the essential workers that we are waiting on this new letter of award that was passed by Congress in December. So just to be clear, Amy, just want to make sure, but you are right. If it's for essential workers, we will not be able to process that payment until we get the letter of award. There's a question, I don't know if there's somebody on that can talk about PDR, but a good question from Jennifer McGill about certification on PDR. Paige, you want to take that one?
Oh, see, my camera's over here, guys, and I've got yours over there. How is everyone? I did see all of the questions about the PDR. My initial response was that you should, or you can, upload a copy of your certification to your PDR profile. What I'm noticing, though, is that the questions that follow are that you are wanting to know if that's something that you can send to the A-State office in order for it to be part of your PDR transcript. And so I don't see that there should not be an issue with that. It might be that our A-State partners are not as familiar with that particular certification. If you all have if anyone has tried to do that, please feel free, if you're having any difficulties, emailing me directly, and I'm happy to assist you. I have put, and I'll put my email in the box again. But again, the answer to the question is you should be able to upload a copy of any certificate for any training that you've attended. You can upload a copy of that to your PDR profile. Now, if you want it on your transcript, you can send it to the A-State, to the PDR office. And then if you have any issues, you can reach out to me and I'm happy to assist you.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback there, Paige. It looks like, and Jennifer, I'm not sure if they will not accept it, if that's A-State will not accept it. If you could clarify, that would be helpful. I just want to make sure we help you all. So we may need to make sure we've given the right list to A-State, Rhonda, maybe of all the acceptable food certification programs, and so that A-State has what they need. That might be something that's causing trouble, but I just noticed that Jennifer had put a comment, they will not accept it. I asked to speak to the supervisor and was told no. So Jennifer, I might try to reach out to you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for putting that in. Okay. There we go. And we may have tried to work on this, Jennifer. I do recall a little bit about that. Paige, can you follow up with Jennifer McGill on that and see what's causing that problem?
Yes,
think
I
we-
will follow up, and also I will get with Rhonda to make sure that we share with A-State the list of courses and certifications. Again, I think that this is new for A-State, and so it could just be a misunderstanding. They don't know that these are courses that they can provide credit to.
Thanks, Paige. I put my email in just so that you all know. Sometimes people think they've emailed me, but my email has an L in the middle, and there are 4 Tanya Williams in the agency, and they don't forward me the emails that they get that might be intended for me. So I just want to make sure when you're emailing me, make sure you put that L in, or I will not get it. And thank you, Jennifer. We are on that. I want to go back up. I know I saw a few folks from A-State. But Galaxy A01, I see you on the call, but I see your comment and appreciate you. I can talk a little bit about that, but I think our colleagues from A-State and maybe Dawn might have some input about this too. So for assessments, for environmental rating scales, I'm just going to go specifically to those for a moment. The college, we contract with A-State for those. And their college, you know, makes decisions about how they want their staff to conduct themselves. And they really went into a lockdown and will not let their staff go out and do reviews for safety reasons, as we can all appreciate and respect and understand early on in the pandemic. So they switched very quickly. They brought a plan to us to sort of pivot and do something a little bit different. And so that's why we switched layering the learners for you all that are new to ERS to have the opportunity to really take some modules and do training in lieu of the evaluation or assessment, on-site assessment. So Dawn or anybody from A-State that wants to add to that, it really was just a matter of them working with and so when you do that, you're basically saying with the vendor, hey, we're going to do this instead of that. And that's what's happened as I understand it. So I appreciate Galaxy A01. If you want to reach out to Don Jeffrey, and if we need to coordinate some efforts with A-State, we have some programs that are being successful with that. But if you're having difficulty, and I appreciate your comments, we definitely want to work with you to see how we can help your program meet those requirements. So thank you for putting those comments in. And Dawn, if you will reach out to Dawn, Dawn can put her email address in there. She's already done that, and she'll be able to help you with that. And maybe we can get a better result. So anything else? That's the last thing I'm seeing on the questions. Okay, hang on, Natalie, I see yours. The projected amount for the quarterly payments. They're very similar to the last time. So it's based on your license capacity and your quality levels. So I think it's 500 if you're level 1 and you serve 1 to 20 children. I don't have it. I'm just going off the top of my head and what we did last time, but those amounts are really the same. It's just we'll be adding your quality levels to your amounts this time. So if you're a quality level program, you would get 7,500 if you're a level 3 and you're serving over 100 children, for example. If you're a quality level and you're serving 1 to 25 children, you would get 1,500. So it's 3 times the amount, or 2 times the amount if you're level 2. So we have worked out a chart that, again, once we get the award, we can release a lot of this, but we do have everything ready. We're trying to be ready so that we can move swiftly. But if that helps, that's the amount. It's the same as we did last time, basically, but we're going to do it quarterly. So hopefully that helps with that question so that you can start thinking about those amounts. And we have, at least at this point, determined, again, this is without the letter of award. We don't even know the exact amount at this point. We're anticipating based on projections the amount, but we think we'll be able to do at a minimum of 4 payments. That would be 1 for each quarter. So we will process 1 for January through March, and then 1, for the next quarter, and just do that through the end of the year. other questions, gang, I know people are busy. If you're like me, I have Zoom calls from on the hour, just about all the time. So if I can give you back time, I want to. I see a few more messages, so I'm going to keep moving down. Okay, Rhonda, thank you. Rhonda's put her information in for the Certified Food Manager program. And I see a question from Josh where for Better Beginnings renewal, Dawn, you may have, oh, okay, good, thank you. Already got it. My staff are so good. So thank you. Kristen, thank you so much for addressing the website. Yes, all of state government shifting, it's a part of the administration's plan to all be on a different website. So all of the formats have changed. So trust me, gang, I know many of you, and I had a few frantic messages during the call of I can't find the link. So I was trying to, if you saw me trying to quickly get folks the link, that's what I was working on. We will all learn to navigate. It's as challenging on our side. I'm looking for things daily going, where did they move that to? But we'll get adjusted. I can only recall one other move a couple of years ago, and it was equally frustrating for me, my staff, and for our early care and education providers. So I do apologize, but I think as you get accustomed to it, our communications team has worked really close with information systems on how to get everything on there and how to do it in a way that makes sense. So, but it has changed, Kristen. So just know that as you guys are going out to our website, if you're having trouble, don't hesitate to email one of us and maybe we can help you navigate to the appropriate thing. But you almost just have to go out there and when you have a moment and kind of look at it to familiarize yourself with where things have been placed. But if you can't find something, let us know and we will get it to you. Yes, so the individual, I don't know your name, I just have your phone. So Galaxy A01, we would love to speak to you. I've put my email in the chat box. I will put my phone number in there. As I have talked to many people during the pandemic and would love to hear from you about your concerns or problems. They may be different than what I've heard already. So I'm putting my number in there.
Hey, Tanya, one other thing probably we do need to make sure we're all on the same page about is the pandemic requirements. And so you guys have been doing a fantastic job with following the pandemic requirements that are outlined through the Arkansas Department of Health. And a part of the new funding does require that we follow the Arkansas Department of Health or CDC. So in our case, we will follow the Arkansas Department of Health as we always have been. So it's no change for you guys. But it is just important to note that we need to make sure that we keep on keeping on in terms of wearing the mask, screening the children, so on and so forth, just like the pandemic requirements are already laid out.
Thanks, Ashlyn, for that reminder. I did mention that last time. That actually is in the federal law with the new funding. It specifically has that language related to childcare. So they want to make sure that if we don't have a state plan, which we do, and you all have been using it, we're not going to switch it up on you unless the health department tells us something new. But at this point, we've been doing that plan for quite some time now, and that will meet their expectation. For states that don't have a state plan, they have to follow the Centers for Disease Control. Ours is pretty much using CDC guidelines, but it is a state plan from the Arkansas Department of Health and approved by them. So I did see a note, Becky, and I appreciate Amy so much for saying, where is the provider TA packet on the site? She can't find it. So Becky, if someone can put that link in for everyone. And I see a note from Julie Yarberry about the pandemic plan, Ashlyn, on the new website. So we thank you. As we've done the transition, I do know that things have, in the shift, have not always gotten done correctly. So we'll make sure we get the newest version of the pandemic requirements. Thank you for that. Okay, and Kelly, that's the TA packet. So Amy, Kelly has posted that link for you and for all of you, just so you'll have it convenient. So please snag that and put it out there where you can have access. I know as you guys use the website, it will get easier, but we are experiencing the same challenges over here as we transitioned this past week or two into that new system. And we had known it was coming for some time, but it got postponed. So, okay, Becky, we have a question about the January 12th call. It's saying it's not on there. Did it accidentally get deleted? I don't think so, Josh, but we will check. It may just in the transition not have gotten relocated to the site with everything else. So let us follow up. I'm making a note to check on that January 12th. That actually had Sandra Withers talking about the vaccine and some other good information. So we'll try to make sure we get that back out there for you guys that missed that call.
Yeah, I'll follow up with that. I'll make sure that it gets on the website for you all.
All right. Thanks, Becky. Oh, yeah. And Kim Salerno was saying this call actually showing back up as 10. So we will work with our comms folks and make sure we get these items addressed. I had it on my calendar at 10 this morning, but it had the noon call for the right time frame. So, but we'll make sure we address that gang. Anything else? Again, if I can give you guys back some time, that's important to me. Please be watching this week for announcements. If we get that letter of award, we're going to be blasting out a lot of information quickly. So watch our site, watch your Child Care Aware, because that's a wonderful place for us to share information. They may also be able to get it to you quickly too. So yes, Jennifer, we will be trying to email. We'll be trying to get it out all the ways that we can. I do want to point out that we don't always have updated emails. Some of you have not updated. So please check your licensing site, check with your license and make sure your email is updated so that you are getting those updates. But I do know we have programs that we don't always have an email for, or it's not updated, but we will send it via email, Jennifer and Kristen. The other thing, and Dawn reminded me, we do have about 80 providers that are not set up as vendors to be paid. So we worked really hard last fall to pay quite a few programs that don't accept vouchers and don't typically take funding from us. And we were excited to be able to do that. I respect those of you who may choose not to, or your colleagues who may choose not to take the money. Our commitment is that everybody is deserving of this federal money, and we want everybody to be able to access it. So for those of you who are not set up as a state vendor, it's not my divisions. We don't do that. It's actually over at the Department of Finance Administration, and you cannot accept state payment if you're not set up with them. So we've got it down to, listen guys, if I remember, Patricia or somebody, we had several hundred, maybe 600 or more that weren't set up right when the pandemic started. So we worked hard to get most of you set up, but for those of you that still aren't set up, please, let's get that in place, because that will delay the payment for those of you who are not set up. Now we're going to process it for all of you in the pipeline. We've got you all ready to go, but for those of you who are not set up, that will cause a delay. And we really want all of you to be able to access the resources. It's been made available for all of you, not just some of you. So please get set up. So Amanda Farmer has asked a question, Patricia, about a website for to track the deposits. We do have the ability to do that, Amanda. I know Patricia's done some training on that. Patricia, you want to answer that?
Good afternoon. Okay, so yes, there's your Child Care Billing website has the remittance listing for all your deposits. I can send you if you type in your email address, I'll be able to send you the link, the actual directions of how to pull that report in your Child Care website. So you'll be able to see your deposits that were completed. And usually when we complete those deposits, they're deposited in your account within 72 hours. So from the completion date, you should see it in your bank account.
Thank you, Patricia. And I see that we have that email address, so we will definitely work with you. And then there's a question.
Okay, so I see a lot of, let me give you all my email address. So you all
Really
can
better,
send me,
Patricia.
yes. Send me, give me your email. Send me an email at patricia.m. I'm one of those ones that have an email in a middle initial in my email as well. So I'm typing it in. If you could just send me the email and I'll be able to respond back as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Patricia. I do see, let's go, I'm going to go to the next one. Oh, from Debbie Mays, 1099s. Anybody know about 1099s, Patricia?
Yes, those 1099s are going to be mailed out after February 5th. They usually are mailed out after February 15th. You may receive it earlier. Just make sure if you have moved, you updated your email address. I'm sorry, your address with DFNA.
Thanks, Patricia. So yes, if you're expecting a 1099, make sure that we have your most current address at DFA. It actually comes out from the Department of Finance Administration, who handles state taxes and all of that kind of information and payment. I see audit requirements. So let me talk about what I do know, Chris. For audits in the state of Arkansas, if you receive funding from DHS that amounts to 100,000 or more, you are subject to audit requirements. That's a state law. So for anybody that received $100,000 or more from DHS, that is a requirement. So if I think Patricia's going to send out the remittance information for childcare billing, but remember you have childcare billing and nutrition. So if your amount is over 100,000, then you would be subject to that requirement. So Tara, I think Patricia's going to share information. She's put her email in the chat box about the remittance sheet. And maybe she can give you a tip there. Tara's asking a question. I mean, the remittance sheet is kind of like your bank statement. Like it's going to show all your deposits, right, Patricia? Is there anything I'm missing?
So the remittance will actually show the authorization numbers that you billed for that billing cycle and the total amount that was processed. Now, keep in mind, sometimes you all bill late in the evening and billing is processed every night. So sometimes the billing is split into two billing payments. So you may see two remittance listing that totaled up to the amount that you billed prior to that billing cycle that ended. So usually billing is picked up between 5 and 7 every day. So, and billing is processed on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays through ACES. So we want to keep that in mind that sometimes it is split up in two payments. So you actually are going to see only your child care billing and also any claims that we process, like for supplemental, sanitation, you'll see an authorization number for that as well. You will not see any food payments in the remittance listing. So you definitely, if you're on the food program, you would have to reach out to them to get that payment amount.
Thanks, Patricia. And I'm seeing a request maybe for additional training. So we will certainly take that into consideration. It sounds like there's several of you that may have questions. So we'll work on getting something set up. Okay, I am going to, okay, so there's a question, Patricia. This is not about billing, it's about claim payments.
Okay, so we did also a directive on how to get the amount per day that DHS pays for your essential clients. I would also attach that attach that manual as well. Any active authorizations for your essential that was active in December, you're going to be able to go and pull that authorization worksheet to get that daily amount. And you would actually time that, the number of days that we're paying. And I think we paid 11 days in January for those essential kids. And I think we only had, if your kids were school age, take into account that there was one full-time day paid. The other were part-time or half-time days. So I'll attach that as well.
Thanks, Cassidy, for clarifying that. And thanks, Patricia, for providing some information. Okay, gang, I think we have exhausted this call. please be watching the website, and we will notify you via email, on the website, through our partners, through our many partners, if we get that letter of award this week or as soon as we get it. If you have questions about anything, you've got several emails in the chat box, including mine, but don't hesitate to reach out by email or call us so that we can help you. Also, I see several licensing staff, please feel free to reach out to your licensing staff. They are also available. And while they may not know the answer for everything, they may be able to help get you routed to the right person. So thank you guys. Thank you, Jennifer and Tammy, for your kind comments. We appreciate you all. We're committed to having this call even after the pandemic is over. So go have a great rest of your Tuesday and a good week, and stay safe.